She was 20 years old, blind, and running through the rain with 8 seconds left to save 7 lives. Her hands were shaking, her lungs were burning, and she had no idea if they would even listen. The motorcycle stopped at the red light, exactly where the men with guns were waiting. She stepped into the street. Her cane hit something solid, a leg, a voice, deep, familiar. And she whispered 4 words that changed everything. Run, it's a trap. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. Because what you just saw wasn't the beginning. It was the moment everything exploded. But to understand how a blind homeless girl became the one person 7 Hells Angels would die to protect, we have to go back to where it really started, 3 weeks earlier. With an act of kindness that cost $20 and changed 2 lives forever. The rain hit the pavement like 1,000 tiny fists. It was 3 minutes past 3 in the morning on a Tuesday in late November, and the intersection of 5th and Main sat empty under the glow of a red traffic light. Most people were asleep. Most people were safe. But 7 motorcycles were rolling toward that intersection, and 3 men with guns were waiting in the alley. None of them knew about the girl. She was 20 years old, blind since birth, and running through the rain with a white cane in her hands and terror in her chest. 4 blocks. She'd counted them in her head. 4 blocks between Rico's diner and this intersection, and she was out of time. Her name was Iris Bellamy, and in less than 30 seconds, she would either save 7 lives or watch them end. She wouldn't see it happen. She never saw anything. But she would hear it. She always heard everything. The rumble of the engines grew louder, deep, growling, getting closer. She was close now, so close. Her cane swept left and right across the wet sidewalk, tapping against trash cans and newspaper stands and the metal poles of street signs. Her lungs burned, her legs shook. She'd been running for 3 minutes straight, and she hadn't run in years. The light at 5th and Main would turn green in 40 seconds. The bikes would stop, the men would fire, and it would all be over. Iris stepped off the curb into the street. She didn't know if she was in front of the bikes or beside them. She just moved toward the sound. Her cane hit something solid, warm, a leg. A hand grabbed her wrist, firm but not rough. A voice, deep, familiar. "Whoa, easy, you okay?" It was him, Warren Briggs, the man they called Iron. Iris couldn't breathe. Her throat closed up. She opened her mouth and the words came out in a whisper barely loud enough to hear over the idling engines. "Run, it's a trap." Silence, the kind that weighs 1,000 pounds. Warren didn't let go of her wrist. She felt him lean closer. "Say that again." Her voice cracked. 3 men, guns, they're waiting for you. Alley on the left. They said your name. They said 310. They said she didn't get to finish. Warren's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Move, now." The engines exploded. All 7 motorcycles blasted forward through the red light in a wave of sound and fury. Tires screamed. Horns blared. And from the alley, Iris heard it. Shouting, confusion, gunfire. The sharp crack of bullets hitting asphalt where the bikes had been just seconds before. And then silence again. Iris stood there in the middle of the intersection, her cane still raised, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Rain poured down her face. She was shaking. She couldn't stop shaking. She'd done it. They were alive. But she wasn't safe, not even close. Because now the men with guns knew someone had warned them. And it wouldn't take long to figure out who. Iris turned and ran again, away from the intersection, away from the gunfire, away from everything. Her cane clattered against the ground, and she didn't know where she was going. She just ran. Behind her, she heard boots on pavement. Heavy, deliberate, getting closer. Someone was following her, and this time she wouldn't get away. But that wasn't where the story started. It started 3 weeks earlier on a Tuesday morning when a man on a motorcycle stopped outside Rico's diner and changed her life without saying more than 7 words. It started with kindness, the kind Iris Bellamy hadn't felt in 6 years. Iris had been homeless since she was 16 years old. Before that, she'd been invisible in 3 different foster homes. Before that, her parents had been alive. She remembered the night they died the way most people remember nightmares. Flashes, sounds, the smell of burning rubber and gasoline. She'd been 14 years old, sitting in the back seat of their car on the way home from her piano recital. She'd played Claire de Lune. Her father said she'd done beautifully. Her mother said she was proud. Then the drunk driver hit them head-on at 60 miles per hour. Iris survived without a scratch. Her parents didn't survive at all. The state put her in a foster home within a week. The Hendersons. They were a nice family on paper. 2 kids, a dawning house with a backyard. But they didn't know what to do with a blind girl who woke up screaming 3 times a night. They tried for 6 months and then they gave up. The second family, the Caldwells, locked her in her room when guests came over. They said it was easier that way. Less questions, less awkwardness. Iris spent 2 years listening to life happen on the other side of the door. The third family, the Porters, just forgot about her. She existed in their house like a piece of furniture they didn't use anymore. They fed her, they gave her a bed, but they never spoke to her unless they had to. At 16, Iris ran. She'd rather be homeless than invisible in a house full of people. The streets of Riverside, California were brutal in ways the foster homes never were. But they were honest. If someone wanted to hurt you, they did it to your face. If someone wanted to help you, you knew it was real. There was no pretending, no fake smiles, no locked doors with kindness painted on the outside. Iris learned fast. She learned which corners were safe and which alleys to avoid. She learned that most people would walk right past her, and the ones who didn't usually wanted something. She learned to sleep light and wake fast. She learned that her white cane made her a target, but without it, she was helpless. And she learned to navigate the world through sound. Iris had been blind since birth, but somewhere along the way, her brain had learned to compensate. She could hear things other people missed. The difference between leather shoes and sneakers on pavement, the sound of a car engine idling versus one that was about to move, the way a person's breathing changed when they were lying. She could map entire city blocks in her head just by listening. The hum of the air conditioner outside the corner store, the rhythm of the crosswalk signal at 4th and Grant, the specific creak of the bench outside Rico's diner where she sat every morning. That bench became her home, not because it was comfortable, not because it was safe, but because it was hers. For 6 years, from age 16 to 20, Iris Bellamy sat on that bench with a cardboard sign that said blind, homeless, anything helps, God bless. Most people ignored it. Warren Briggs didn't. It was a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks before the night at 5th and Main. Iris heard his motorcycle before she heard him. A deep, throaty rumble that made the bench vibrate beneath her. Most bikes sounded aggressive, angry, but this one sounded controlled, confident. The engine cut off. Footsteps, heavy boots on concrete, not rushed, not hesitant, just steady. The footsteps stopped in front of her. Iris tensed. She'd learned to read people by the way they approached her. Fast steps meant danger or drunks. Slow steps meant curiosity or pity. But these steps were different. They were deliberated, like the person knew exactly what they were doing. A shadow blocked the morning sun. She felt it more than saw it. You eat yet. The voice was rough but not unkind. Low, calm. The kind of voice that didn't need to shout to be heard. Iris shook her head. The footsteps moved away. She heard the door to Rico's diner open and close. Heard the murmur of voices inside. Heard the door open again 5 minutes later. The footsteps came back. Something warm and heavy was placed in her hands. A foam container. She could smell eggs, butter, toast. Her stomach twisted. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Thank you, she whispered. The man sat down next to her on the bench, not too close, but close enough that she could feel the heat coming off him. He smelled like leather and gasoline and something else, something clean. Soap, maybe. He didn't say anything, just sat there. Iris opened the container and ate slowly. The eggs were still hot. The toast was buttered. There was even a little plastic fork. She ate half and then stopped, carefully closing the container. She'd save the rest for later. They sat in silence for 10 minutes. It was the most comfortable silence Iris had felt in years. No pity, no questions, no expectations. Just 2 people sitting on a bench on a Tuesday morning. When the man finally stood, he pressed something into her hand. Paper, bills. She felt the edges. A 20. Stay safe, kid. and then he was gone. Iris sat there for a long time after he left, holding the $20 bill in her hand and listening to the sound of his motorcycle fade into the distance. She didn't know his name. She didn't know what he looked like. But she knew he'd seen her. Really seen her. Not as a blind girl with a cardboard sign, but as a person. It was the first kindness she'd felt in 6 years. And 3 weeks later, she would risk her life to save his. But she did not know that yet. Warren Briggs rode through Riverside like a man who had nothing left to lose and everything left to protect. He was 45 years old, 6'2", 220 pounds of muscle and scar tissue, and regret. He wore a black leather vest with a Hells Angels patch on the back, and when people saw him coming, they moved. He'd earned that reaction. Warren had done time when he was younger. Assault. Aggravated battery. He'd been angry back then. Angry at the world, angry at himself, angry at everyone who'd ever told him he'd amount to nothing. He'd spent 5 years in San Quentin proving them right. But prison changed him. Not in the way people expected. He didn't find God. He didn't get rehabilitated. He just got tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of proving how tough he was. Tired of waking up every morning with nothing but rage in his chest. When he got out, he joined the Hells Angels. Not because he wanted to be part of a gang, but because he wanted to be part of something that mattered. Something that protected people instead of hurting them. The Riverside chapter wasn't like the others. They didn't run drugs. They didn't traffic weapons. They didn't shake down businesses for protection money. They did the opposite. They protected the people the system forgot. They shut down street dealers near elementary schools. They escorted women home at night when the buses stopped running. They bought groceries for families who couldn't afford them. They fixed broken windows and broken fences and broken lives. And they rode, every week, all 7 of them. Warren and his crew, his family, Wyatt Landry, 25 the youngest. They called him Rook because he was still learning, but he had a laugh that could fill a room and a heart bigger than his common sense. Boone Fletcher, 35 the mechanic. They called him Diesel because he could fix anything with an engine and most things without one. Jericho Vaughn, 32 the scout. They called him Hawk because he saw trouble before it arrived and never missed a detail. Quentin Langford, 42 the medic. They called him Doc because he'd patched up more bar fights than he could count and never asked questions. Holden Brennan, 38 the enforcer. They called him Axel because when he hit you, you stayed down. Beckett Merrill, 29 the quiet one. They called him Ghost because he could disappear into a room and you'd forget he was there until he wanted you to remember. And Warren, Ian, the man who held them all together. They weren't a gang. They were a family, and families protected each other. But Warren carried something the others didn't, a weight, a guilt that sat in his chest like a stone he couldn't swallow and couldn't spit out. His daughter, Sarah Briggs, she'd been 18 years old when she died. Overdose, fentanyl-laced heroin. She'd been trying to get clean. She'd been doing so well. 3 months sober, meetings every week, sponsors, support groups, hope. And then one bad decision, one relapse, one pill. Warren found her in the bathroom of her apartment. She was already cold. He'd tried. God, he'd tried. CPR, 911, screaming at the paramedics to do something, anything, please. But she was gone. That was 3 years ago. 3 years, and Warren still woke up every morning thinking about what he could have done differently. Should have been there more. Should have seen the signs. Should have saved her. He couldn't save Sarah, but maybe he could save someone else. That's why he stopped at Rico's Diner that Tuesday morning. That's why he bought breakfast for a blind homeless girl he'd never met. That's why he sat with her in silence for 10 minutes and gave her $20 and told her to stay safe. Because Sarah used to sit on benches like that, used to hold cardboard signs, used to wait for someone to see her. And Warren hadn't been there. But he could be there for someone else. He didn't know the girl's name, didn't know her story, didn't need to. He just saw her. And 3 weeks later, she would save his life. Vincent Mercer didn't look like a drug dealer. He looked like a businessman. Clean-shaven, expensive watch, tailored jacket. He owned 3 legitimate businesses in Riverside. A car wash called Mercer's Auto Spa, a laundromat called Riverside Clean, and a used car lot called Mercer Motors. All 3 were fronts. The real money came from methamphetamine. Vincent had been running a distribution network for 8 years, moving product through Riverside County and into Los Angeles. He had dealers on 12 street corners, enforcers in 6 neighborhoods, and enough cash to buy silence from anyone who might talk. He was good at what he did. He was careful, professional. He didn't get his hands dirty. He paid people for that. People like Fletch Cormack. Fletch was 38 years old, 6'4", with dead eyes and a smile that made your skin crawl. He'd been Vincent's enforcer for 5 years, and in that time, he'd broken more bones than he could count. He didn't enjoy it. He didn't hate it. He just did what needed to be done. Dorian Webb was the opposite. 40 years old, thin, precise. He planned everything, every move, every angle, every risk. He'd been with Vincent for 6 years, and he'd never made a mistake. Until the Hells Angels showed up. Warren Briggs and his crew had been shutting down Vincent's street corners for 3 months. They'd scared off dealers, intercepted shipments, made it clear that Riverside wasn't his playground anymore. Vincent had lost $2 million. More importantly, he'd lost respect. And in his world, respect was worth more than money. So he called a meeting. It was 2 in the morning on a Monday night, one day before the ambush. Vincent sat in the back office of his car lot, a glass of whiskey in his hand, and looked at Fletch and Dorian across the desk. "They have to go," Vincent said. Fletch nodded. "When tomorrow night, 3:10 in the morning, 5th and Main." Dorian leaned forward. "Why there?" "Red light. They stop every week. Same time, same route. Perfect line of sight from the alley." Fletch smiled. "How many?" "7 bikes, but we only need one." Vincent tapped the desk. "Iron, Marcus Briggs. You take him, out the rest scatter." Dorian pulled out a tablet, swiping through maps and routes. 3 shooters, suppressed weapons, in and out in 30 seconds. "No mistakes," Vincent said. "Never are," Dorian replied. But there was something Vincent hadn't told them, something he hadn't told anyone. He was dying, lung cancer, stage 4. The doctors had given him 4 months, maybe 6 if he was lucky. Vincent Mercer was 52 years old, and he had 4 months left to live. And he wanted revenge, not just for the money, not just for the respect, for his son. 2 years ago, Vincent's son had died of an overdose. Fentanyl, the same poison Vincent had been selling for years. The irony wasn't lost on him. His son Michael had been 20 years old, smart, kind, full of potential. He'd gotten mixed up with the wrong people, started using, spiraled. Vincent tried to save him, rehab, therapy, second chances. But Michael relapsed. And one night on a street corner in Riverside, Michael overdosed. And the Hells Angels drove right past him. Vincent knew it wasn't their fault. He knew they weren't obligated to stop. He knew they didn't even see Michael lying there in the shadows. But in Vincent's mind, they could have saved him. They could have stopped. They could have done something. And they didn't. So now, with 4 months left to live, Vincent Mercer was going to make them pay. He raised his glass. "Tomorrow night," he said, "we end this." Fletch and Dorian raised their glasses. They had no idea that a blind homeless girl was about to ruin everything. Iris sat on her bench outside Rico's diner at 2:47 in the morning on a Tuesday in late November. It was raining, not hard but steady, the kind of rain that soaked through your clothes and made your bones ache. She didn't have anywhere else to go. The shelter closed at 10. The library didn't open until 8. The overpass on 7th Street was occupied by 3 men who didn't like sharing. So Iris stayed on her bench, wrapped in a thin jacket and a blanket she'd found behind a thrift store, and listened to the city breathe. Riverside at night was a symphony, the hum of streetlights, the distant rumble of freight trains, the shuffle of rats near dumpsters, the occasional siren, the rhythmic beep of crosswalk signals, the sound of rain hitting metal and glass and concrete. Iris knew this city better than most people who could see it. She knew that the light at 4th and Grant stayed red for exactly 42 seconds. She knew that the bus on Route 12 had a squeaky brake on the left rear wheel. She knew that the man who worked the night shift at the gas station on 9th Street hummed the same song every night when he mopped the floors. She knew the world through sound. And tonight she heard something that didn't belong. Voices, 3 of them, low, urgent, dangerous. They were standing near the alley across the street, just beyond the glow of the neon sign that flickered above the pawn shop. Iris tilted her head, focusing. She could hear them clearly now. 7 bikes, red light, 5th and Main, 3:10 a.m. A different voice. Rougher. Meaner. What if they don't stop? They will. It's a red light. They always stop. And if someone sees us, no one's out at 3 in the morning. We'll be gone in 30 seconds. What about Iron? Take him out first. The rest scatter. Iris's chest tightened. She knew that name. 3 weeks ago, a man had bought her breakfast, sat with her in silence, gave her $20 and told her to stay safe. She didn't know his real name, but she'd heard other people call him Iron, and now someone wanted him dead. Iris sat frozen on her bench, her hands gripping the edge of the wood so hard her knuckles ached. She should stay quiet. She should stay invisible. That's how she'd survive for 6 years. But if she stayed quiet, 7 people would die. And one of them was the only person who'd shown her kindness in 6 years. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was pounding. She could hear the men moving now, boots on pavement, the click of something metallic. Guns maybe, or knives. They were heading toward 5th and Main. Iris stood, her legs felt like water. Her breath came in short, shallow bursts. She didn't know if she could make it. She didn't know if they'd even listen. But she had to try. She grabbed her white cane and started walking. The intersection of 5th and Main was 4 blocks away. Iris moved as fast as she dared, her cane sweeping side to side, tapping against the wet pavement. She knew this route. She'd walked it 100 times. Left at the corner, straight for 2 blocks, right at the gas station. But tonight, every step felt like walking off a cliff. She could hear the rumble now, deep, growling, getting closer. The motorcycles. 7 of them, just like the man had said. They were heading toward the intersection, toward the red light, toward the ambush. Iris broke into a run. Her cane clattered against a trash can, and she stumbled, catching herself on a lamppost. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the cane. The engines were louder now, closer. She could smell the exhaust, the leather, the oil. They were stopped. The light must have turned red. She had seconds, maybe less. Iris stepped off the curb into the street. She didn't know if she was in front of them or beside them. She just moved toward the sound. Her cane hit something solid, warm, a leg. A hand grabbed her wrist, firm but not rough. "Whoa, easy, you okay?" It was him, Warren, Iron, the man who'd bought her breakfast. Iris's throat closed up. She couldn't breathe. She opened her mouth and the words came out in a whisper. "Run. It's a trap." Silence. Warren didn't let go of her wrist. She felt him lean closer. "Say that again." Her voice cracked. 3 men, guns, alley on the left. They said your name. They said 310. She didn't get to finish. Warren's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Move. Now." The engines exploded. All 7 motorcycles blasted forward through the red light in a wave of sound and fury. Tires screamed against wet pavement. Horns blared from cars swerving to avoid them. And from the alley, Iris heard it. Gunfire. Sharp, loud, rapid. Bullets hitting asphalt, hitting brick, hitting air where the motorcycles had been just seconds before. Then shouting, confusion, panic. The ambush had failed. Iris stood in the middle of the intersection, rain pouring down her face, her cane still raised. She was shaking so hard she thought she might fall apart. But she'd done it. They were alive, all 7 of them, because of her. A blind homeless girl who'd spent 6 years being invisible had just saved 7 lives with 4 whispered words. But her relief lasted exactly 3 seconds, because from the alley she heard new sounds. Boots on pavement, heavy, deliberate, getting closer. A voice, low, angry. Someone warned them. Another voice, cold. "Find out who." Iris turned and ran. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she had to move, had to get away, had to disappear. Her cane swept wildly across the ground, left, right, forward. She turned down a street, then another, her sense of direction unraveling. She was lost. For the first time in years, Iris Bellamy was completely, terrifyingly lost. And then she heard them behind her, footsteps, getting closer. She tried to run faster, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. She was exhausted, terrified, shaking. The footsteps caught up. A hand grabbed her arm. Hard, bruising. She was shoved against a wall. Her cane clattered to the ground. A voice. Rough, mean, the same voice from the alley. You got a big mouth for someone who can't see. It was one of them. One of the men who'd planned the ambush. Iris tried to speak, but her voice wouldn't come. The man leaned closer. His breath smelled like cigarettes and something sour. You cost us tonight. You made us look weak. He shoved her again and she fell. Her hands hit the wet pavement. Pain shot through her wrists. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to disappear. No one's going to find you. No one's going to care. He kicked her cane away. She heard it clatter across the alley. And if those bikers come looking, we'll handle them too. Then he was gone. His footsteps faded into the distance. Iris sat there on the cold, wet ground, shaking. Her hands pressed against the pavement, her breath coming in short, desperate gasps. She wanted to cry, but she'd stopped crying 6 years ago. Crying didn't help. Crying didn't change anything. So she sat there in the rain and the dark alone and terrified and wondered if this was how her story ended. But it wasn't, because 4 blocks away, Warren Briggs was already looking for her. Warren Briggs couldn't sleep. He sat in the back room of the clubhouse at 4:30 in the morning, a cup of cold coffee in his hand, and replayed the moment at 5th and Main over and over in his head. The girl, the warning, the timing. It didn't make sense. How did a blind homeless girl know about an ambush? How did she know his name? How did she know exactly when and where it was going to happen? And more importantly, where was she now? Why did Landry walked into the room, his hair still wet from the rain? He'd been out riding the streets for the past hour looking for signs of trouble, looking for the shooters. Anything, Warren asked. Wyatt shook his head. Whoever they were, they're gone. Jericho found shell casings in the alley. 9mm. Suppressors. Professional setup. Warren set down his coffee. Someone wanted us dead. Yeah. Wyatt pulled out a chair and sat down. But someone else saved us. Warren nodded slowly. He'd been thinking about that for the past hour. About the girl who'd appeared out of nowhere, whispered 4 words, and vanished back into the rain. You know her, Wyatt asked. Saw her before, outside Rico's, 3 weeks ago. She say anything to you then? No, I bought her breakfast. Sat with her for a bit. That's it. Wyatt frowned. So how'd she know? That was the question Warren couldn't answer. He'd been trying to piece it together. The girl sat outside Rico's every day. Maybe she'd overheard something. Maybe someone had talked too loud. Maybe she'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time and heard the right thing. Or maybe she'd been paying attention when no one else was. We need to find her, Warren said. Why? Warren looked at Wyatt. Because if she hears them planning it, they know she heard them. And if they know she's dead. Wyatt's expression changed, understanding, then concern. You think they'd go after her? Wouldn't you? Wyatt stood. I'll get the crew. Warren grabbed his jacket. Tell them to check every corner, every alley, every place someone might hide. What's she look like? Warren paused. He'd only seen her once 3 weeks ago in the early morning light outside Rico's. Thin, young, long dark hair, a white cane resting across her lap. Blind girl, 20 maybe, white cane, usually outside Rico's. Wyatt nodded and left. Warren sat there for another moment, staring at the cold coffee in his hand. He was thinking about Sarah, his daughter. She'd been homeless for 6 months before she died, living on streets just like the girl, sitting on benches just like the girl, waiting for someone to see her. And Warren hadn't been there, but he could be there now. He stood and walked out into the rain. Iris didn't know how long she'd been sitting in the alley. Minutes, hours, time had stopped meaning anything. Her hands were still pressed against the wet pavement. Her cane was gone, kicked away by the man who'd found her, the man who'd threatened her. She was bleeding, not badly, but enough. Her lip was split where he'd shoved her face first into the wall. Her ribs ached where he'd kicked her. Her wrists throbbed from catching herself when she fell. But the physical pain wasn't what hurt. It was the fear, the certainty that she was going to die. Not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, because she'd made herself visible. She'd stepped out of the shadows. She'd done something that mattered, and now she was going to pay for it. Iris pushed herself to her feet. Her legs shook. She reached out, feeling for the wall, and used it to steady herself. She needed to move, needed to find somewhere safe, somewhere they wouldn't look. But she didn't know where she was. The rain had washed away the familiar sounds. The echoes were wrong. The distances felt off. She took a step forward, her hands trailing along the brick wall, and tried to orient herself. Left. The alley opened to the left. She moved slowly, carefully, feeling her way through the darkness she'd lived in her entire life. Her foot hit something metal. A dumpster. She could smell it. Rotting food. Old grease. Decay. She moved past it. Another step. Another. Her hand found the edge of the building. The corner. She turned and stopped. Footsteps. Not behind her. Ahead of her. She froze. The footsteps came closer. Steady. Deliberate. Not running, not searching. Just walking. Iris's heart hammered in her chest. She pressed herself against the wall, trying to make herself smaller. Invisible. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then a voice, different from before. Not rough, not mean, just tired. You're the one who warned them. It wasn't a question. Iris didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Smart move, the voice continued. Saved their lives. Probably saved yours too. For now. She heard the click of a lighter, smelled cigarette smoke. But you made a mistake. You got involved. And now Vincent knows someone talked. Vincent, that was a name, the first real piece of information she'd heard. He's going to find you, the voice said. And when he does, this won't be quick. The footsteps started again, coming closer. Iris turned and ran. She didn't make it 3 steps. Her foot caught on something, a crack in the pavement, a piece of trash she didn't know. She fell hard. Her hands hit the ground. Her knees scraped against concrete. The footsteps stopped. Then laughter. Cold. Humorless. Can't even run right. Iris scrambled backward, her hands searching for something, anything. Her fingers found metal. A pipe. Rusted. Heavy. She grabbed it. The footsteps came closer. Iris swung. The pipe connected with something solid. She felt the impact travel up her arms, heard a grunt of pain, then silence. She didn't wait to find out what happened. She dropped the pipe and ran again. This time she made it further, out of the alley, onto a sidewalk. She could hear traffic now. Distant, a main road. She turned left and kept moving. Her lungs burned. Her legs felt like they were going to give out. But she didn't stop. She didn't stop until she found another alley. Darker, quieter. She felt her way to the back, past dumpsters and stacks of wooden pallets, until she found a corner. A space between 2 dumpsters where she could fit. She crawled into the space and pulled her knees to her chest. And there in the dark, in the rain, bleeding and terrified and alone, Iris Bellamy finally let herself cry. But not because she was scared, because she'd saved them. 7 people were alive because of her. And maybe that was worth dying for. Warren found her 6 hours later. It was almost noon when Jericho Vaughn called and said he'd spotted something behind a dumpster on 7th Street. Warren rode there in 4 minutes, the engine of his bike roaring through the afternoon traffic. He parked and walked into the alley. Jericho was standing near the back, his arms crossed, his expression grim. "She's in there," he said, pointing to the space between 2 dumpsters. Warren walked over and knelt down. She was curled up in a ball, soaking wet, shivering. Her face was bruised, her lip was split, her hands were scraped raw. Her white cane was gone. "Hey," Warren said softly, "you with me?" She didn't respond, didn't move, just shivered. Warren looked up at Jericho. "Get Quentin, now." Jericho pulled out his phone and made the call. Warren turned back to the girl. He reached out slowly, carefully, and touched her shoulder. She flinched. "It's okay," he said. "It's Warren. You remember me from this morning, at the light." Her eyes didn't open, but her lips moved. No sound came out. "You saved us," Warren said. "All 7 of us. You understand, you saved our lives." Her lips moved again. This time he heard it, barely a whisper. "They know. I know they know. That's why I'm here. We're going to keep you safe." "Can't." "Yes, we can." She shook her head and a tear slipped down her bruised cheek. Warren felt something crack inside his chest. He'd seen this before. Seen Sarah like this. Broken, scared, convinced she was beyond saving. And he'd failed her. He wasn't going to fail again. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Then so quietly he almost missed it. "Iris." "Iris," Warren repeated. "I'm Warren. And I promise you, Iris, we're not going to let anything happen to you." She didn't respond. 5 minutes later, Quentin Langford arrived with his medical bag. He knelt down next to Warren and examined Iris quickly. Checked her pulse, her breathing, her injuries. "She's hypothermic," Quentin said. "We need to get her warm, fast." Warren nodded. He reached down and carefully lifted Iris into his arms. She weighed almost nothing, just skin and bones and fear. She didn't fight, didn't speak, just shivered. Warren carried her to his bike and wrapped his jacket around her. Quentin brought his truck around and they laid her in the back seat with the heat on full blast. "Where are we taking her?" Quentin asked. "Clubhouse," Warren said. "You sure if they're looking for her?" "That's exactly why. Safest place in Riverside is behind our walls." Quentin didn't argue. They drove to the clubhouse in silence. Warren sat in the back with Iris holding a blanket around her, watching her shiver. He was thinking about something Quentin had said while examining her. "She's got old scars, a lot of them." Warren had seen them, on her arms, her shoulders, faded marks that spoke of years of violence, years of survival. This girl hadn't just been homeless for 6 years. She'd been fighting for 6 years. And somehow, impossibly, she'd survived. Until tonight, when she'd risked everything to save 7 strangers. Warren looked down at her bruised face and made a silent promise. She wouldn't fight alone anymore. Iris woke up in a bed, a real bed, soft, warm, clean. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming or dead. She reached out her fingers, brushing against a blanket, a pillow, sheets that smelled like detergent. She heard voices nearby, low, careful. "She's awake." Footsteps, then a voice she recognized. Warren. "Hey, easy, you're safe." Safe, that word again. Iris tried to sit up and pain shot through her ribs. She gasped. "Don't move too fast," Warren said. "You took a beating. Quentin checked you over. Nothing broken, but you're pretty banged up." "Where am I?" Her voice was raw, rough. "Clubhouse, our headquarters. You've been out for about 14 hours. 14 hours. Iris tried to process that. She'd been unconscious for more than half a day. "Why?" she asked. Warren was quiet for a moment. "Because you saved our lives. You think we were just going to leave you out there? I'm nobody." "You're not." His voice was firm, almost angry. "Not to us." Iris felt something break inside her, something she'd been holding together for 6 years. She started to cry, not because she was scared, not because she was hurt, but because someone saw her. Someone actually saw her. Warren didn't say anything, just sat there while she cried. When she finally stopped, he spoke again. "You hungry?" She nodded. "I'll get you something. Rest for now. We'll talk later." He left and Iris lay there in the soft bed listening to the sounds of the clubhouse. Voices, laughter, the clank of tools, the rumble of engines. Life. For the first time in 6 years, she was surrounded by life. The next week passed in a blur. Iris learned the clubhouse through touch and sound. It was a converted warehouse, big, open, with high ceilings and concrete floors, and the constant smell of motor oil and coffee. There were 7 bedrooms in the back. Iris had been given one, small but hers. She memorized every corner, every doorway, every step. Boone Fletcher rebuilt her cane. He reinforced it with steel tubing and wrapped the handle in leather. It was heavier than her old one, but it wouldn't break. "Try to bust this one," he said when he gave it to her. "I dare you." Iris smiled. It felt strange. She hadn't smiled in a long time. Wyatt Landry made her laugh. He had a gift for it. Bad jokes, terrible impressions, stories that couldn't possibly be true but were entertaining anyway. "So there I am," he said one afternoon, "upside down in a drainage ditch covered in mud, and this cop leans over and says, 'You know this is private property, right?'" Iris laughed, actually laughed, and for a moment she forgot she was supposed to be scared. Jericho Vaughn taught her the layout of the building. He walked with her every day, describing distances and landmarks. The corner where Boone's workbench sat, the spot where the coffee maker hummed, the threshold between the main room and the hallway. "You've got this," Jericho said after the third day. Better navigation than half the crew. Quentin Langford checked her injuries every morning, gentle, professional. He never asked questions about the old scars, just treated them with the same care as the new ones. You're healing well, he said on the fifth day. Bruises are fading. Ribs should be fine in another week. Holden Brennan stood guard, not obviously, but Iris could hear him, always nearby, always watching, like a father who wouldn't let his daughter out of sight. You need anything, he said once, you call. Day or night, I'm here. Beckett Merrill didn't say much. But every morning, Iris woke up to the smell of fresh coffee. And every morning, there was a cup waiting for her on the small table next to her bed. She never heard him bring it. He moved like a ghost. But he was there. And Warren sat with her every evening, just like he had outside Rico's. They didn't talk much, didn't need to. On the seventh day, Warren made her an offer. We need someone to handle communications, he said. Answer phones, take messages, help coordinate when we're out on runs. You interested? Iris hesitated. I can't see. Don't need to, Warren replied. You hear better than anyone I know, and you're smarter than half this crew combined. She laughed. I'm serious, Warren said. You saved 7 lives with information you heard in the dark. You think answering phones is harder than that? Iris thought about it. Chipao, responsibility, purpose, things she'd never had. Okay, she said, I'll try. And she did. She learned the phone system, learned how to route calls, learned how to take detailed messages and organize schedules. She helped coordinate supply runs for families in need, helped arrange escorts for women working late shifts, helped connect at-risk kids with resources. And she discovered something. She was good at it, better than good. She could hear things in people's voices that others missed. Fear, desperation, lies, hope. She could identify callers by their speech patterns, could remember conversations word for word. She became essential, not because she was blind, but because she was brilliant. And for the first time in her life, Iris Bellamy felt like she mattered. But Vincent Mercer wasn't done. The bounty went out on a Friday afternoon. $10,000 to anyone who could find the girl who'd warned the bikers. Bring her in alive. The word spread fast. By Saturday morning, every street hustler and small-time criminal in Riverside knew there was money on the table. And all they had to do was find a blind girl with a white cane. The first attempt came on Saturday night. Iris was in the clubhouse organizing files in the office when she heard something. Footsteps outside. Not familiar. Not the crew. She stopped moving. Listened. The footsteps came closer to the gate. Then voices. 2 of them. Low. Conspiring. She's in there. I heard she's been staying with them. How do we get in? We don't. We wait. She's got to come out sometime. Iris set down the files and walked quickly to the main room. Found Holden by sound, his breathing, the weight of his footsteps. Someone's outside, she said quietly. Holden didn't hesitate. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. 3 minutes later, Iris heard shouting, then silence. Holden came back inside. Taken care of, he said. They won't be back. But Iris knew it wouldn't be the last. Warren called a meeting that night. All 7 of them, plus Iris. We've got a problem, Warren said. Vincent Mercer put a bounty on her. 10,000, that's serious money on the street. So we keep her inside, Watt said. For how long? Jericho asked. Forever. Until we deal with Mercer, Holden said. And how do we do that? Boone asked. Silence. Iris sat there listening to them argue, listening to them debate her future like she wasn't in the room. And then she heard something else. A phone ringing in the next room. Warren's office, the line he used for private calls. No one else heard it. They were too focused on the argument. But Iris heard it. She stood and walked quietly toward the office. Found the phone by memory. Picked it up. She didn't say anything, just listened. A voice on the other end, older, tired, angry. Fletch, I need this done. Doctor says I've got 4 months. Maybe less. 4 months. Iris's breath caught. Another voice, the rough one, the mean one, the one from the alley. We'll find her, Vincent. Just a matter of time. Make it fast. I want to see this finished before I'm gone. The line went dead. Iris stood there holding the phone, her mind racing. Vincent Mercer was dying. He had 4 months left. and he was desperate. She walked back to the main room. The crew was still arguing. She interrupted them. "He's dying." They all stopped, turned to look at her. "What?" Warren asked. "Vincent Mercer, I just heard a phone call. He's got 4 months, maybe less. That's why he's doing this." Warren stood. "How do you know?" "I heard him. He called someone. Said the doctor gave him 4 months." Quentin frowned. "You sure?" "I'm sure." Warren looked at the others. "If he's dying, he's desperate. Desperate people don't think straight." "Which makes him more dangerous," Jericho said. Warren nodded. "We need to end this, fast." "How?" Wyatt asked. Iris spoke again. "I have an idea." They all turned to her. She took a breath. "Let me testify. Let me go to the police. I heard them planning the ambush. I can identify their voices. I can help you build a case." Warren shook his head immediately. "No, too dangerous." "It's already dangerous," Iris said. "He's not going to stop. You know that. As long as I'm alive and he thinks I'm a threat, he'll keep coming. Then we protect you." "For how long?" Iris asked. She was echoing Jericho's words from earlier. "Forever." Warren didn't answer. Iris stepped forward. "I'm not your daughter." The room went silent. "I'm not Sarah," Iris continued, her voice steady. "I'm not a kid who needs to be protected from the world. I'm a woman who made a choice. I chose to save you. And now I'm choosing to end this." Warren's jaw tightened. "You gave me a family," Iris said. "You gave me a home. You gave me a purpose. Now let me fight for it." No one spoke. Then Iris said something else. Something that surprised all of them. "And I can help, more than you think." Warren frowned. "What do you mean?" Iris walked over to the desk where they kept files and records. She reached out her fingers, finding the edge of a folder. "I've been listening," she said, "to everything, every conversation, every phone call, every plan." She opened the folder and ran her fingers across the papers inside. She couldn't read them, but she'd memorized every word that had been spoken about them. "I know Mercer's schedule. I know his routes. I know the addresses of his businesses. I know the names of 3 of his dealers and 2 of his enforcers." She turned to face them. "I know his voice. I can identify it anywhere. In person. On a recording. In a courtroom." The crew stared at her. "I've been paying attention," Iris said quietly. "While you were protecting me, I was learning, listening, gathering information." Warren looked at her for a long moment. Then he started to smile. "You've been playing us." "No," Iris said. "I've been helping you. You just didn't know it." Wyatt laughed. "She's been tactical this whole time." "Not tactical," Iris said. "Just careful. I've spent 6 years surviving on these streets. You think I don't know how to pay attention?" Quentin shook his head, impressed. "We underestimated you." "Everyone does," Iris said. "That's my advantage." Warren walked over to her. He put a hand on her shoulder. "You're sure about this, about testifying?" "I'm sure. It won't be easy. They'll come after you harder." "I know." Warren nodded slowly. "Okay, then we do this right. We build a case, we gather evidence, we make sure when we move it sticks." "How long?" Jericho asked. 2 weeks, Warren said. "Maybe 3. We need photos, financial records, witness statements, everything." "And her," Holden gestured to Iris. "She stays here," Warren said. "Locked down, no one in or out except us." Iris nodded. "I can work from here. I can help coordinate, make calls, cross-reference information." Warren looked at her. Really looked at her. This wasn't the broken girl he'd found behind a dumpster a week ago. This was someone else. Someone strong. Someone smart. Someone dangerous. Someone who'd been invisible for so long that everyone forgot to see her coming. "All right," Warren said. "Let's end this." The crew nodded. And for the first time since the night at 5th and Main, Iris felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the fragile kind that breaks at the first sign of trouble. The kind that's forged in fire and tempered by pain. The kind that doesn't give up. Because Iris Bellamy had spent 6 years being invisible. But now she was done hiding. Now she was ready to fight. And Vincent Mercer had no idea what was coming for him. The next 2 weeks moved like a slow-burning fuse. Iris sat in the clubhouse office, a phone headset on, coordinating calls and cross-referencing information, while the crew worked the streets. She'd become the center of their operation. The quiet intelligence that held everything together. She kept lists in her head, addresses, names, dates, team size. Everything she heard she remembered, every conversation, every detail, every piece of the puzzle. Warren had been right. She heard things others missed. On day 3, she listened to a recording Jericho had made of a conversation outside one of Mercer's businesses. Most people would have heard two men talking about a delivery. Iris heard the stress in one man's voice, the hesitation, the fear. He's lying, she told Warren. The second man, he's scared. He'll flip if you push him. They pushed. The man talked, gave them names, locations, schedules. On day 7, Iris took a call from someone claiming to be a customer looking for car parts. But something in the cadence of his speech, the way he emphasized certain words, told her it wasn't a real customer. That was Mercer, she said after hanging up. He's checking to see if I'm here. Warren's jaw tightened. He's getting desperate. Good, Iris said. Desperate people make mistakes. On day 10, Quentin made contact with a detective he knew. Marcus Webb, 15 years on the force, drug task force. He'd been trying to build a case against Mercer for 2 years, but could never make anything stick. Quentin brought him to the clubhouse. Webb was skeptical at first. A blind witness, a girl who'd overheard a conversation in the dark. It sounded too thin, too unreliable. Then Iris demonstrated. She had Webb, Warren, and 3 other officers stand in different parts of the room. She closed her eyes, not that it made a difference, and had them walk around, change positions, speak from different locations. Then she identified each person by their footsteps alone, by the weight of their gait, the rhythm of their stride, the sound of their breathing. That's Marcus Webb, she said, pointing toward the window. 210 pounds. Favors his left leg, probably an old injury. Wears leather-soled shoes, size 11. Webb stared at her. How the hell? You breathe through your mouth when you concentrate, Iris continued, and you tap your wedding ring against your belt buckle when you are thinking. 3 times. Always 3. Webb looked down at his hand. He'd been doing it without realizing. You've got a daughter, Iris said. Teenager. I can smell her perfume on your jacket. Something floral, expensive. She hugged you this morning before you left. Webb's expression changed, from skepticism to something else, respect. All right, he said. I'm listening. They spent the next 3 hours building the case. Iris recounted everything she'd heard the night of the ambush, the voices, the plan, the timeline. She described Fletch's voice in perfect detail, the rasp in his throat, the way he emphasized hard consonants, the slight whistle on his S sounds. I could pick him out of 100 men, she said. Webb believed her. They had photos now, financial records, witness statements from 3 former employees who were willing to talk. And they had Iris. This could work, Webb said, but we need to move fast. If Mercer knows we're building a case, he'll disappear. He won't disappear, Warren said. He's dying. He's got 4 months left. He's not running. He's fighting. Webb nodded. Then we hit him hard. Simultaneous raids on all 3 businesses. Seize records. Arrest anyone involved. Cut the head off the snake. When, Jericho asked. 3 days, Webb said. I need time to get warrants, coordinate teams. 3 days, Warren repeated. Webb looked at Iris. You're sure you want to do this? Once we move, there's no going back. You'll be testifying. You'll be visible. Iris nodded. I've been invisible my whole life. I'm done hiding. Webb stood. All right then, 3 days. He left and the room fell quiet. Warren looked at Iris. You scared? She thought about it. No, not anymore. Why not? Because I'm not alone. Warren smiled. It was the first real smile she'd seen from him. Not forced, not polite, genuine. No, he said. You're not. That night, Iris and Warren sat in the office long after everyone else had gone to bed. It had become their routine, late-night conversations, quiet moments between the chaos. Tell me about Sarah, Iris said. Warren was silent for a long time. Then he started talking. He told her about his daughter, about the girl who'd loved music and hated math, who'd wanted to be a veterinarian when she was 10 and a poet when she was 15, who'd had her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn streak. He told her about the overdose, about finding her in the bathroom, about the paramedics and the hospital, and the moment the doctor told him there was nothing they could do. I failed her, Warren said quietly. I was so focused on trying to fix her that I forgot to just be there for her. You didn't fail her, Iris said. I did. No, Iris turned toward him. You loved her. That's not failing. Failing is walking away. Failing is giving up. You never gave up. Warren's voice cracked. She died anyway. Because addiction is a disease, not because you didn't love her enough. Silence. Then Warren said, you remind me of her, the way you see the world, the way you don't give up. Iris smiled sadly. I'm not trying to replace her. I know, but you're giving me a chance to do something I couldn't do before. To be there when it matters. To show up. You've been showing up since the day you bought me breakfast, Iris said. That was nothing. It was everything. They sat in silence for a while. Then Iris spoke again. Tell me about your daughter, the good parts, not the end. And Warren did. He talked for an hour about birthday parties and bad jokes, about camping trips and failed cooking experiments, about the time Sarah tried to give the dog a haircut and ended up shaving half of herself instead. And for the first time since Sarah died, Warren talked about his daughter and smiled. The trap came 2 days later. Vincent Mercer wasn't stupid. He'd been running a criminal operation for 8 years, and he hadn't lasted this long by being careless. He had sources, people who owed him, people who heard things, and he heard that the police were coming. So he set his own trap. At his car lot, plenty of space, plenty of evidence to find. He'd make it look good, make it look real. And when the police showed up, he'd be ready. But while they were focused on the car lot, Fletch and 8 men would hit the clubhouse. Finish this, once and for all. Mercer made the call at 9 in the morning. Tomorrow night, he told Fletch, police are raiding the lot at midnight. That's when you move on the clubhouse. Everyone will be distracted. Everyone will be looking the wrong way. And the girl, Fletch asked, bring her to me, alive. I want to look her in the eye before this is over. Fletch hung up. What Mercer didn't know was that Iris had been listening. Not to his call, she couldn't do that, but to the echo of it. Warren had left his office door open, his phone was on speaker, and sound carried in the warehouse. Iris heard every word. She sat in her room processing the information. They were going to hit the clubhouse tomorrow night, while the police were at the car lot, while everyone was distracted. She stood and walked to the main room. Found Warren by the sound of his voice talking to Boone about motorcycle parts. Warren, we need to talk, now. Something in her tone made everyone stop. They gathered in the office, all 7 of them, plus Iris. I heard something, she said, a phone call. Mercer knows about the raid. How, Jericho asked. Doesn't matter, he knows. And he's setting a trap at the car lot. But the real attack is coming here. Tomorrow night, while the police are busy. Warren's expression hardened. You're sure? I'm sure I heard him. 8 men, led by Fletch. They're coming for me. Silence. Then Wyatt said, so we let them come. Warren looked at him. What? We know they're coming. They don't know we know. That gives us the advantage. He's right, Holden said. We set our own trap. Let them think we're unprepared. And the girl? Boone asked. I stay, Iris said immediately. No, Warren said. Yes. Iris stepped forward. This ends tomorrow, one way or another. And I'm not running. Warren started to argue, but Iris cut him off. I'm not your daughter, Warren. I'm not someone you need to save. I'm someone who's choosing to fight. Let me fight. The room was quiet, then Quentin spoke. If she stays, we protect her. Full perimeter. Every angle covered. I'll call Webb, Jericho said. Make sure police know to have backup ready. Warren looked at Iris for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right, we do this together. But if things go wrong, they won't, Iris said. If they do, Warren continued, you run. You hear gunfire, you run. Understand? Iris didn't answer. Warren's voice hardened. Iris, I need to hear you say it. She sighed. Fine, if things go wrong, I run. It was a lie, and Warren knew it. But he also knew there was no changing her mind. The attack came at 11:43. 8 men, 4 vehicles, Fletch leading them. They drove up to the clubhouse gate expecting resistance, but the gate was open. The lights were on. Music played from inside. It looked like a normal night. Fletch smiled. Too easy. They parked and moved in on foot. Spread out, covered angles. Professional. What they didn't know was that Warren and his crew were waiting, in the shadows, on the roof, behind cover. And Iris was in the office with Beckett, listening to everything through the security monitors Warren had set up. 8 hostiles, Beckett said quietly into his radio. 2 at the gate, 3 moving toward the main entrance, 3 covering the rear. Copy, Warren's voice crackled back. Iris sat perfectly still. Her heart was pounding, but her hands were steady. You should be somewhere safer, Beckett said. This is as safe as anywhere, Iris replied. Outside, Fletch reached the main door. He signaled to his men, counted down on his fingers. 3, 2, 1. They kicked the door open and rushed inside, and found nothing. The main room was empty. The music was coming from a speaker on the workbench. No one was there. It's a trap, Fletch said. Too late. The lights went out, and gunfire erupted from every direction. The crew had been waiting. In the rafters, behind barricades, in positions Fletch's men hadn't checked. Chaos, muzzle flashes in the dark, shouts, the sound of men hitting the ground. Iris heard all of it from the office. Every shot, every scream, every impact. Beckett stood at the door, his weapon raised ready. Stay down, he told her. Then the office door exploded inward. Not Beckett's door, the back door, the one that led to the rear hallway. 2 of Fletch's men had flanked around. Found the secondary entrance. Beckett spun and fired. Dropped one. But the second man fired back. Beckett went down. Iris heard him fall, heard the grunt of pain, heard his weapon clatter across the floor. The second man stepped into the room. Found you, he said. Iris stood, her cane in her hands. You're coming with me, the man said. He reached for her. Iris swung her cane. It caught him across the temple. The reinforced steel Boone had built into it connected with bone. The man staggered. Iris swung again. And again. The man fell. Iris dropped the cane and knelt next to Beckett. Her hands found his shoulder. Warm, wet, blood. Beckett, stay with me, he groaned. I'm good. Just a shoulder. Where's the wound? Left side, not deep. Iris pulled off her jacket and pressed it against the wound. Applied pressure. Hard. Beckett hissed in pain. I know, Iris said. I'm sorry, but you have to stay awake. Outside, the gunfire was slowing. Fewer shots. More shouting. Then Warren's voice over the radio. Clear. All hostiles down. Status check. Office, Iris called out. Beckett is hit. Shoulder wound. Footsteps. Running. Warren and Quentin burst into the room. Quentin knelt next to Beckett and took over. Warren looked at Iris, then at the unconscious man on the floor, then back at Iris. You okay? I'm fine. Warren looked at the man again. You did that? Iris nodded. Warren smiled grimly. Remind me not to make you angry. Quentin finished bandaging Beckett's shoulder. He'll be fine. Clean through and through. Missed the bone. Outside, sirens wailed. Police. Marcus Webb and his team. Warren helped Beckett to his feet. Come on, let's get you looked at properly. Iris stood there in the office covered in Beckett's blood and realized something. She wasn't scared anymore. She'd been in a gunfight. She'd defended herself. She'd saved someone. And she was still standing. The police arrested 6 of Fletch's men. 2 had been killed in the firefight. Fletch himself was tackled by Holden while trying to escape through the back. Detective Webb walked through the clubhouse surveying the damage. Bullet holes in walls, shattered glass, blood on the floor. Hell of a fight, he said to Warren. They started it, Warren replied. Webb smiled. Yeah, I'll make sure that's in the report. He turned to Iris. You all right? I'm fine. I heard you took down one of them with a cane. He wasn't expecting it. Webb laughed. I'll bet he wasn't. He got serious. This changes things. Mercer's going to know his attack failed. He's going to know we're coming for him. Good, Warren said. Let him know. We're moving up the timeline tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., simultaneous raids on all his properties. We'll be ready, Warren said. Webb nodded and left to coordinate his teams. Iris sat on a bench in the main room while Quentin patched up the minor cuts on her hands from swinging the cane. Wyatt sat next to her, his arm in a sling. He'd taken a bullet to the shoulder during the fight. Nothing serious, but it hurt. You saved Beckett, Wyatt said. He would have done the same for me. Yeah, but he's trained. You're what? Iris interrupted. Blind helpless. Wyatt backpedaled. No, I didn't mean, Iris smiled. I know what you meant, and you're right. I'm not trained, but I'm also not helpless. Wyatt grinned. Yeah, we're learning that. The next morning came fast. At 5:30 a.m., Iris sat in the clubhouse kitchen with a cup of coffee. She couldn't drink it. Her stomach was too tight, too nervous. Today was the day. Warren walked in and poured his own cup, sat down across from her. You ready for this? He asked. No, Iris admitted, but I'm doing it anyway. That's bravery. No, bravery is not being scared. This is just stubbornness. Warren laughed. Sarah used to say the same thing. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Warren spoke. After this is over, what are you going to do? Iris thought about it. I don't know. I've spent 6 years just surviving. I don't know what comes after. You could stay here, keep working with us. Maybe. Or you could get your own place. Get some independence. Iris smiled. Are you trying to get rid of me? No, I'm trying to give you options. You've earned them. Iris reached across the table and found Warren's hand, squeezed it. Thank you, she said, for everything. Warren squeezed back. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. You gave me a family when I had nothing. You gave me a chance to matter. You mattered before we met. You just didn't know it yet. At 6 a.m., the raids began. Police hit all three of Mercer's businesses simultaneously. Car lot, laundromat, car wash. They found drugs, records, everything they needed. But Vincent Mercer wasn't at any of them. He'd gone somewhere else. He'd come to the clubhouse. Warren's phone rang at 6:15. Unknown number, he answered. Yeah, we need to talk. Vincent Mercer's voice, tired, strained. Talk, Warren said. Face to face, you and the girl, outside your gate, 10 minutes. Come alone or people die. The line went dead. Warren looked at the crew. He's coming here. How many? Jericho asked. Said come alone, but he's lying. Probably has snipers, Holden said. Probably, Warren agreed. He turned to Iris. You stay inside. No. Iris, he wants to talk to me. Let him talk. Maybe we can end this without more violence. Or he shoots you the second you step outside. Then you shoot him back, Iris said calmly. Warren stared at her. You're serious. I am. This is my choice, Warren. Let me make it. Warren looked at the crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his call. Finally, he nodded. All right, but we do this smart. Quentin, Jericho, Holden take positions on the roof. Snipers. Cover every angle. Boone, Wyatt, Beckett, stay inside but ready to move. Anything goes wrong, you come out hard. They nodded and moved. Warren turned to Iris. You're sure about this? I'm sure of them. If he tries anything, Sam, he won't, not yet. He wants to talk first. I can hear it in his voice. He's looking for something. What? Understanding, maybe. Or forgiveness. People at the end always want one or the other. Warren studied her. How do you know that? Because I spent 6 years watching people die on the streets. They all wanted the same thing at the end. Someone to see them. Someone to say they mattered. Warren nodded slowly. All right, let's go. They walked outside together. The gate was open. The morning sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. A black car was parked 50 feet away. Vincent Mercer stepped out. He looked exactly like Iris had imagined from his voice. Older, tired, sick. He walked like a man who was carrying too much weight. He stopped 20 feet from the gate. Iron, he said. Vincent, Warren replied. Mercer's eyes shifted to Iris, and the girl who ruined everything. Iris stepped forward. Warren tensed beside her, but she kept moving, slowly, carefully. She stopped 10 feet from Mercer. My name is Iris, she said. Mercer studied her. You can't even see me. I don't need to. I know who you are. Do you buy a? Yes, you're a father who lost his son, and you're angry, and you're dying, and you don't know how to let go. Mercer's expression shifted. Surprise? Then anger. You don't know anything about me. I know you blame them. Iris gestured toward Warren. I know you think they could have saved your son but didn't. I know you've spent 2 years hating them for something that wasn't their fault. They drove past him. Mercer said. His voice was shaking. He was dying on that corner and they drove right past him. They didn't know, Iris said gently. They didn't see him. It was dark. He was in the shadows. They couldn't have known. They should have known. Just like you should have known your product would kill him. Mercer flinched like he'd been slapped. You sold the poison that killed him, Iris continued. You created the system that destroyed him, and now you're angry at them for not cleaning up your mess. Shut up. You're not angry at them, Mr. Mercer. You're angry at yourself. I said shut up, but Iris didn't stop. And you're dying. And you have maybe 4 months left, and you don't want to die hating yourself. So you're trying to hate them instead. But it doesn't work, because you know the truth. Mercer's hands were shaking. You don't know what it's like to lose a child. No, Iris said, but I know what it's like to lose parents. I was 14 when mine died. Car accident, drunk driver. I know what it's like to be angry at the world, to want someone to blame, to want revenge. She took another step forward. But I also know that anger doesn't bring them back. It just eats you alive until there's nothing left. Mercer's eyes were wet. What am I supposed to do? Just forgive them. No, Iris said. Forgive yourself. Silence. The morning air was still. No traffic, no birds, just the sound of 2 people breathing. Then Mercer spoke, his voice barely a whisper. I can't. Yes, you can, Iris said. You have 4 months left. You can spend it hating, or you can spend it making peace, building something good with the time you have left. Mercer looked at her, really looked at her. You're just a kid. I'm 20 years old, and I've survived things that should have killed me, so don't call me a kid. Mercer almost smiled. Fair enough. He lowered his gun, the one Iris hadn't seen but had known was there from the way he'd been standing. What do you want from me? He asked. Stop, Iris said. Stop the bounty, stop the hunting, stop the violence, let it end. And then what? And then you get to choose how you spend your last 4 months, hating or healing. Mercer was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. Okay. Iris smiled. Okay. Mercer turned to walk back to his car, and that's when Dorian Webb stepped out from behind a building with the rifle raised. Not the detective. The other Dorian, Vincent's planner. Vincent, move, Dorian shouted. He fired. The bullet was meant for Iris. Warren tackled her to the ground. The bullet whistled over their heads and hit the gate behind them. Dorian fired again. This time Mercer moved. He stepped in front of Iris and Warren. The bullet hit him in the chest. He fell. Dorian lined up another shot, and Holden fired from the roof. The sniper bullet caught Dorian in the shoulder, spun him around. The rifle fell from his hands. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Getting closer. Warren helped Iris to her feet. They ran to Mercer. He was lying on the ground, blood spreading across his shirt. His breathing was labored, shallow. Iris knelt next to him. Mr. Mercer. He looked up at her, smiled weakly. Didn't think I'd go out playing hero. Why did you do that? Because you were right. I've spent 2 years hating. Felt good to do something different. His hand found hers, squeezed weakly. Tell my son I'm sorry. Tell him yourself, Iris said. You're not done yet. But they both knew she was lying. Mercer's breathing slowed. His grip loosened. Thank you, he whispered. And then he was gone. The ambulance arrived 6 minutes later, but it was already too late. Vincent Mercer died on the pavement outside the clubhouse at 6:37 in the morning. Dorian Webb was arrested and charged with attempted murder. The police raids turned up enough evidence to dismantle Mercer's entire operation. And Iris Bellamy sat in the clubhouse and cried. Not because Mercer was dead, but because he'd saved her life. A man who'd wanted to kill her had died protecting her. Warren sat with her, didn't say anything, just sat. Finally, Iris spoke. He didn't have to do that. No, Warren agreed, but he chose to. Why? Because you gave him something, a chance to be more than what he'd become, and in his last moment he took it. Iris wiped her eyes. Is that enough, one good moment at the end? Warren thought about it. I don't know, but it's something. It's more than nothing. They sat in silence for a while. Then Iris said, I want to go to his funeral. Warren looked at her. You sure? Yes. He saved my life. I owe him that much. All right, we'll go together. 3 months later, Iris Bellamy stood in front of her new apartment building, her white cane in one hand, keys in the other. It wasn't much, a studio on the second floor of a building on Maple Street. But it was hers. Warren had helped her find it, helped her move in, helped her set up furniture, and organize her space. You good? He asked. I'm good, Iris said. She wasn't lying. For the first time in her life, she actually was good. She had a job at the youth center that had been built with Vincent Mercer's donation. $500,000 left in his will, a final act of redemption, the Sarah Bellamy Memorial Center for At-Risk Youth, named after both their lost children. Iris worked there 3 days a week teaching self-defense classes for blind students, teaching them how to navigate the world, how to be strong, how to survive. The other 4 days, she still worked with the crew, coordinating, planning, helping. She had a family now, a real one, and she had independence, her own space, her own life. Warren looked around the apartment. You need anything else? No, I think I'm set. You remember where the clubhouse is from here? 3 blocks east, 2 blocks north. I could walk it in my sleep. Warren smiled. Yeah, I know you could. He turned to leave, then stopped. Iris. Yeah, I'm proud of you. Iris felt tears sting her eyes. Thank you. And Sarah would have liked you. I would have liked her too. Warren nodded and left. Iris stood in her apartment listening to his footsteps fade down the hallway, listening to his motorcycle start outside, listening to the sound of the engine fade into the distance. Then she closed the door and smiled. 6 months ago, she'd been homeless, invisible, alone. Now she was home. The next Sunday, Iris walked to the clubhouse for family dinner. It had become a tradition. Every Sunday, the whole crew gathered, cooked too much food, told bad stories, laughed too loud. When Iris arrived, Wyatt was already telling a story about a bar fight that couldn't possibly be true. Boone was arguing with Jericho about the best way to rebuild a carburetor. Quentin was making his famous chili even though everyone agreed it was too spicy. Holden was sitting quietly in the corner, smiling at the chaos. Beckett was brewing coffee, and Warren was standing by the grill flipping burgers. Iris walked in, and the noise stopped for just a second. Iris is here, Wyatt shouted. Everyone cheered. She laughed, really laughed, the kind of laugh that came from joy, not politeness. Warren walked over. You ready for a ride later? Always, Iris said. After dinner, after the stories and the laughter and the cleanup, Warren and Iris walked out to his motorcycle. The sun was setting, orange and pink and gold. Iris climbed on behind him, her arms wrapping around his waist. Where are we going? She asked. Does it matter? No. Warren started the engine. The deep rumble vibrated through both of them, and they rode. Through Riverside, past Rico's Diner, past 5th and Main, past all the places where Iris had been invisible. But she wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen. She was known. She was loved. The wind whipped through her hair. The engine roared beneath her. And for the first time in her life, Iris Bellamy felt free. Not because she could see, but because she'd chosen to act. She'd chosen courage over fear. She'd chosen family over loneliness. She'd chosen to be seen. Warren glanced back at her. You good? Iris smiled, the kind of smile that reached all the way to her soul. Yeah, she said, I'm good. And she meant it, because family isn't blood. It's who shows up when you risk everything. It's who stays when the world walks away. It's who sees you even when you can't see yourself. And Iris Bellamy had found hers. She'd been invisible for 20 years, but 4 whispered words at a red light had changed everything. Run, it's a trap. 4 words that saved 7 lives. 4 words that gave her a family. 4 words that prove courage doesn't need eyes to see what's right. It just needs a heart brave enough to act. And Iris Bellamy's heart had never been braver. The motorcycle roared down the highway as the sun set over Riverside, California. A blind girl and a broken biker. A family forged in fire. A story that would never be forgotten. Because some people spend their whole lives trying to be seen. But Iris Bellamy proved that the ones who really see are the ones who choose to look. And Warren Briggs had looked. and he'd seen someone worth saving. Just like she'd seen him, two broken people, one moment of courage, and a lifetime of family.